I still remember the marble floors of the Harrison mansion, so polished I could see my reflection. I was 12 years old, sitting in the kitchen while Mom cleaned upstairs. The smell of lemon cleaner mixed with fresh bread from the oven. Mrs. Harrison was hosting another party that evening. "Daniel, stay quiet," Mom whispered, adjusting her uniform. "Don't let them see you wandering around." I nodded, opening my homework on the small kitchen table. Math problems blurred on the page as laughter echoed from the dining room. The Harrison family, Mr. Richard, Mrs. Patricia, and their son Brandon, lived in a world I could only glimpse through doorways. Brandon was my age, but we lived in different universes. He attended private school while I went to public. He wore designer clothes while I wore hand-me-downs. His biggest worry was which video game to buy. Mine was whether Mom could pay rent this month. That day, everything changed. Brandon walked into the kitchen with 3 friends, all wearing tennis whites. They stopped when they saw me, whispering and laughing. "Is that the maid's son?" one asked loudly. Brandon smirked. "Yeah, that's Daniel. His mom cleans our toilets." The words hit like punches. Brandon's friends laughed harder, pointing at my worn sneakers and faded shirt. I wanted to disappear into the floor Mom had scrubbed that morning. "Does your mom teach you how to clean too?" another boy asked, making scrubbing motions. I stood up, fists clenched. But Mom appeared in the doorway, her eyes pleading. "Don't make trouble. We need this job." I understood without words. I grabbed my backpack and walked past them, their laughter following me out. Outside, I sat on the back steps where the help was allowed. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Mom worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. She cleaned houses during the day, waited tables at night, and did laundry on weekends. She never complained. That evening, riding the bus home to our tiny apartment, Mom held my hand. "One day, things will be different," she said quietly. I looked out the window at the passing mansions. "How, Mom? How will anything change?" She squeezed my hand. "Education, Daniel. It's the only way out." I made a promise to myself that night. I would study harder than anyone. I would prove them all wrong. The next years were hard. I woke up at 5 every morning to study before school. While Brandon and his friends partied, I worked part-time at the grocery store after classes. While they traveled during summers, I attended free tutoring sessions at the library. Mom kept cleaning the Harrison house twice a week. I usually stayed home, but sometimes I had to go with her. Each visit felt like torture. Brandon would see me and make some comment about the help's kid loud enough for his friends to hear. One afternoon, when I was 15, Mr. Harrison stopped me in the hallway. "You're Daniel, right? Angela's son?" I nodded, surprised he knew my name. "Your mother says you're doing well in school. Top of your class." He studied me with sharp eyes. "That's good. Keep working hard." It was the first time anyone in that family acknowledged me as more than invisible. The moment was brief. Mrs. Harrison called him away, but it planted something in my mind. Mr. Harrison had started with nothing too. I'd overheard Mom mention it once. He'd built his real estate empire from scratch. If he could do it, why couldn't I? High school graduation arrived. I was valedictorian, earning a full scholarship to State University. Mom cried when I told her, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. For the first time in years, I saw hope in her eyes instead of exhaustion. The day before I left for college, Mom had to clean the Harrison house one last time that week. I went with her, wanting to spend every possible moment together. While she worked upstairs, I waited in the kitchen, just like old times. Brandon walked in, now 18 and headed to an expensive private university his father was paying for. He barely glanced at me, grabbing a bottle of water from the fridge. "Still here?" he said casually. "Thought you'd be gone by now." "I leave tomorrow." "State University. Full scholarship." He laughed. "State? That's basically community college. I'm going to Princeton." But hey, good for you, man. Someone's gotta flip burgers. He walked out, leaving me alone with his words. But this time, they didn't hurt. They fueled something else. Determination. Anger. Drive. That night, I wrote in my journal, September 2nd, 2015. Brandon Harrison thinks I'll fail. I'll remember this. College was brutal but beautiful. I studied business and finance, pulling all-nighters, joining every networking club, attending every career workshop. While other students partied, I built connections. While they slept in, I met with professors during office hours. My roommate, Marcus, became my best friend. He came from a similar background, single mom, worked his way up. We pushed each other, studying together, sharing dreams of building something bigger than ourselves. Real estate, Marcus said one night, sophomore year. That's where the real money is. Property never goes away. People always need places to live. I thought of Mr. Harrison's empire. Marcus was right. I switched my focus, taking every real estate course offered. I read books about property investment, studied market trends, learned about financing and development. Junior year, I got an internship at a small real estate firm. The pay was terrible, but the education was priceless. I learned how deals were structured, how properties were valued, how investors made decisions. I absorbed everything like a sponge. Mom called every week. "How are you doing, baby?" "Good, Mom. Really good. The Harrisons ask about you sometimes," she mentioned once. I doubted that. But I didn't say anything. Senior year, everything accelerated. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in finance and real estate. Multiple firms offered me positions, but I chose Caldwell Investments, a mid-sized company known for mentoring young talent. My boss, Janet Caldwell, was a sharp woman in her 50s who'd built her career through intelligence and grit. She saw something in me. "You're hungry," she said during my first week. "That's good. Hungry people change the world." She taught me everything: how to spot undervalued properties, how to negotiate with sellers, how to secure financing, how to manage renovations. I worked 16-hour days, learning, growing, absorbing. Mom was still cleaning houses, though I sent her money every month now. She refused at first, but I insisted. "You invested in me," I told her. "Let me start paying you back." One evening, Janet called me into her office. "There's a property auction next week. Small apartment building, 8 units, in decent condition. The owner died, and the family wants to liquidate quickly. I think it'll go cheap." She slid a folder across her desk. "Want to try bidding on it? I'll back you if you're serious." My heart raced. This was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. The auction was intimidating. Experienced investors filled the room, some representing major companies. I sat in the back with my folder, sweating through my shirt. Janet had agreed to loan me the down payment if I won, with terms I'd pay back from the rental income. The building, Maple Street Apartments, was old but solid. 8 units, currently rented, generating steady income. The starting bid was $150,000. My maximum was $200,000, which was already stretching it. Bidding started. Hands went up quickly: $160K, $170K, $180K. My stomach churned. At $190K, most people dropped out. At $195K, only 2 of us remained, me and an older man in an expensive suit. $200,000, I said, voice shaking slightly. The room went silent. The other bidder shook his head, sitting back. The auctioneer's gavel came down. Sold to the young man in the back for $200,000. I'd done it. At 22 years old, I owned an apartment building. My hands trembled as I signed the paperwork. Janet smiled, shaking my hand. "Welcome to the game, Daniel." That night, I called Mom. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone from my ear. Managing the Maple Street building taught me lessons no classroom could. Tenants called with problems, leaking faucets, broken heaters, noise complaints. I fixed what I could myself, hired contractors for bigger jobs, and slowly learned the rhythm of being a landlord. The rental income covered the mortgage and expenses with a small profit left over. I saved every penny, already planning the next purchase. Janet continued mentoring me, introducing me to investors and other real estate professionals. 2 years passed. I bought a second property, then a third. Each purchase was strategic, carefully chosen. I focused on undervalued buildings and neighborhoods showing signs of growth. I'd renovate, increase rent moderately, and watch the value climb. By age 25, I owned 6 properties generating solid income. I'd also saved enough to hire a property manager, freeing up my time to focus on bigger deals. Marcus, who'd gone into tech, often joked that I was becoming a real estate mogul. "Remember when we were broke college kids?" he'd say, laughing. "I remember everything," I'd reply. Mom finally retired from cleaning houses. I bought her a small condo near my office so we could see each other regularly. Watching her relax for the first time in years made everything worth it. One morning, Janet called me into her office looking serious. "There's a property coming on the market. Big one. The Harrison estate." My blood went cold. "The Harrison mansion?" She nodded. "Richard Harrison died last month. Heart attack. The family's liquidating assets to cover debts and taxes. The mansion and the surrounding properties are being sold as a package deal." I sat down heavily. Mr. Harrison, dead. The man whose empire I'd secretly studied, whose success I'd used as a blueprint. And now his empire was crumbling. "There's more," Janet continued. "From what I hear, the son, Brandon, I think, made some terrible business decisions after taking over. Overleveraged, bad investments. The family's broke, Daniel. They need to sell everything." My mind raced. The Harrison mansion. The place where I'd been mocked, where I'd felt small and worthless. The place where Brandon had laughed at my dreams. "What's the asking price?" I asked quietly. $3.2 million for the entire package. The mansion, 2 rental properties nearby, and a small commercial building. It was a lot of money. But I had options now. Investors, partners, financing. "I want it," I said. Janet smiled slowly. "I thought you might." The next 2 weeks were chaos. I met with banks, pitched to investors, structured the deal a dozen different ways. Marcus agreed to partner with me, pooling our resources. Janet helped navigate the complicated financing. Finally, we had it, a solid offer of $3.2 million, with proof of funds and a quick closing timeline. I submitted it through Janet's firm, keeping my name off the initial paperwork. I wanted to see the property first before they knew who was buying. The showing was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon. I drove through the familiar gates, memories flooding back. The mansion looked the same but somehow smaller. Maybe I'd grown. Maybe it had faded. A real estate agent met me at the door, not someone I recognized. "Welcome. Let me show you around." We toured the house. The marble floors I'd once feared scuffing. The grand staircase I'd never been allowed to climb. Brandon's old room, now empty and echoing. Each room held ghosts of humiliation, but they felt distant now. In the kitchen where Brandon had mocked me, I stood silently, remembering that 12-year-old boy with clenched fists and burning shame. I barely recognized him now. "Beautiful property," the agent said. "The family's motivated to sell quickly." "I can see that," I replied. "I'll take it." The closing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. During that time, word spread through the local real estate community about the Harrison sale. No one knew I was the buyer yet. The deal was structured through Janet's firm. I did some research on Brandon. He dropped out of Princeton junior year, tried starting several businesses that all failed. He'd burned through his father's money, made risky investments, and accumulated massive debts. After Mr. Harrison died, everything collapsed. Part of me felt sorry for him. Another part remembered every cruel word, every mocking laugh. Mostly, I felt nothing. This wasn't about revenge. It was about moving forward. The day before closing, I visited Mom. We sat in her condo, drinking tea, and I told her about the Harrison mansion. She was quiet for a long time. "Are you doing this for the right reasons, Daniel?" "What do you mean? Are you buying it because it's a good investment? Or because you want to prove something to people who don't matter anymore?" I thought carefully. "Both, Mom. But mostly the first one. The property's undervalued. The location's prime. It's a smart purchase." She nodded slowly. "Just remember, success isn't about making others feel small. It's about becoming bigger than you were." Her words stayed with me. Closing day arrived. I wore my best suit, Marcus beside me, both of us trying to appear calm. Janet accompanied us, confident as always. We arrived at the title company office, signing forms, transferring funds. The Harrison family's attorney represented them. "My clients couldn't attend today," she explained. "They've already moved out of state." I felt a twinge of disappointment. Part of me wanted to face them, wanted them to know who bought their house. But maybe Mom was right. Maybe this wasn't about them at all. We signed the final documents. The keys were handed over, actual keys to the Harrison mansion. I held them in my palm, feeling their weight. Marcus grinned at me. "How does it feel, man?" "Surreal," I admitted. That afternoon, we toured the property as owners. Marcus talked excitedly about renovation plans, rental possibilities, maybe converting part of it into office space. I walked through quietly, processing. In the kitchen, I stood where I'd sat doing homework 15 years ago. Where Brandon had called me the maid's son like it was a disease. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Not for social media. For me. A reminder of how far I'd come. News spread quickly in our small city. "Daniel Torres purchases historic Harrison estate," read the local Business Journal headline. My phone exploded with calls from reporters, investors, old acquaintances suddenly wanting to reconnect. Marcus handled most of the publicity while I focused on the business side. We hired contractors to assess the properties, planned renovations, strategized rental rates. The mansion itself would become a boutique event venue, weddings, corporate events, high-end gatherings. One afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hello? Daniel? It's Brandon. Brandon Harrison." My heart stopped. Silence stretched between us. "I heard you bought the house," he continued, voice tight. I wanted to call. I don't know why, exactly. I waited, saying nothing. "Look, I know I was terrible to you growing up. I was a spoiled brat who didn't understand anything about real life. My dad built everything, and I destroyed it all." He paused. "I'm calling to say I'm sorry. For what it's worth." The apology hung in the air. Years ago, I'd dreamed of this moment, Brandon admitting he was wrong, me having the power. But now that it was happening, I felt empty. "I appreciate that," I said finally. Brandon kept talking, words tumbling out. "After Dad died, everything fell apart. The debts, the bad investments, I was drowning. I had to sell everything. The house, the cars, everything. My mom's living with relatives now. I'm crashing with a friend, working at a marketing firm. Entry level." There was a strange vulnerability in his voice. The arrogant boy from my childhood was gone, replaced by a defeated man my age. "I saw your picture in the Business Journal," he continued. "Standing in front of your house. I barely recognized you. You look like you belong there." I never did. "Brandon." "No, let me finish. You were right there all along, right in our kitchen, and I was too stupid to see it. You had more drive in your little finger than I had in my whole body. My dad saw it. He mentioned you once, said you reminded him of himself when he was young. I laughed it off. I remembered Mr. Harrison's brief acknowledgement in the hallway. He had seen me. I'm not calling for a handout or anything, Brandon said quickly. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And, congratulations. You earned it. The line went quiet. Thanks, I said softly. I appreciate you calling. We hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. The renovations took 6 months. Marcus and I poured our energy into transforming the Harrison estate. We kept the mansion's historic charm while modernizing everything else. The marble floors I'd once feared scuffing were professionally restored. The grand staircase I'd never climbed was refinished to gleaming perfection. The 2 rental properties were updated with new appliances, fresh paint, and modern fixtures. We raised the rents but kept them fair. The commercial building became office space for small businesses and startups. Mom visited during renovations, walking through the mansion with tears in her eyes. I cleaned these floors for 15 years, she whispered. Never imagined my son would own them. We stood in the kitchen together, the room where it all began. You gave me everything, Mom. This is as much yours as mine. She shook her head. No, baby. You did this. I just believed in you. Opening day for the event venue was magical. We hosted a charity gala, inviting local business leaders, investors, and community members. The mansion glowed with lights, music floating through rooms where I'd once hidden in shame. Janet gave a toast to Daniel Torres, who proves that dreams backed by determination can move mountains. Everyone raised their glasses. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. Mom beamed from across the room. This was success, not just the money or the property, but this moment of recognition and respect. The business exploded. The event venue booked solid for months. The rental properties maintained full occupancy. The commercial building's office spaces filled quickly. Money flowed in faster than I could track. I hired a full team, property managers, event coordinators, maintenance staff. I wanted to create good jobs with fair pay, remembering how hard Mom had worked for so little. My employees appreciated it, working harder because they felt valued. Marcus and I started looking at bigger opportunities. We should expand, he said one evening, reviewing financial statements. Buy more properties, maybe in other cities. He was right. We had the capital, the experience, the team. We started acquiring properties in neighboring cities, apartment complexes, small commercial buildings, even a historic theater that needed restoration. By my 30th birthday, our portfolio was worth over $20 million. I'd gone from the Maid's son to a legitimate real estate developer in less than 10 years. The transformation felt unreal sometimes. One day, I received a LinkedIn message from Brandon Harrison. Saw your latest acquisition announcement. Impressive work. Hope you're doing well. I stared at the message, remembering the cruel boy in tennis whites. I typed back, thanks. Hope things are good with you too. It wasn't much, but it felt like closing a door on the past. Mom's health started declining that year. Nothing serious, just age catching up. I convinced her to see better doctors, insisted on covering all medical expenses. She protested but eventually agreed. You've done too much for me already, she said during one hospital visit. I held her hand. Mom, you worked 3 jobs so I could have a chance. Let me take care of you now. She smiled, squeezing my hand weakly. I'm so proud of you, Daniel. But not because of the money or the properties. Because you stayed kind. You didn't let bitterness poison you. Her words hit deep. She was right, I could have become bitter, angry, vengeful. Instead, I'd channeled everything into building something positive. That was the real victory. That evening, sitting in the mansion's library, a room I now used as an office, I reflected on the journey. From invisible kid in the kitchen to owner of the estate. From shame to pride. From nothing to something. My phone buzzed. An email from the mayor's office, invitation to speak at the Young Entrepreneurs Summit. They wanted me to share my story, inspire other young people from difficult backgrounds. I accepted immediately. If my story could help even one kid like I'd been, it was worth telling. The speaking engagement was at the city's convention center. Hundreds of young people filled the auditorium, mostly from low-income backgrounds, all hungry for hope. I stood backstage, nervous, reviewing my notes. Marcus appeared, grinning. "You got this, man. Just tell them the truth." I walked onto the stage to applause. The lights were bright, but I could see faces in the crowd, young faces, old faces, tired faces, hopeful faces. Faces like mine at 12 years old. "My name is Daniel Torres," I began. "When I was 12, a boy told me my mom cleaned toilets like it was something to be ashamed of. He was right, she did clean toilets. She also cleaned floors, washed windows, and worked herself to exhaustion so I could have a chance at something better." The room went silent, everyone listening. That boy lived in a mansion. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment. He had everything handed to him. I had to fight for every opportunity. He mocked me for being poor. I used that mockery as fuel. I told them everything, the studying, the sacrifices, the first property, the growth, finally buying the very mansion where I'd been humiliated. "But here's what I learned," I said, leaning into the microphone. "Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right." The speech went viral online. Someone recorded it and posted it to YouTube. Within days, it had millions of views. Comments poured in from people sharing their own stories of overcoming poverty, prejudice, and doubt. This made me cry. My mom cleaned houses too. I'm the janitor's daughter. Starting college next year. This gave me hope. Currently working 3 jobs. Needed to hear this. The response overwhelmed me. News outlets requested interviews. A publisher reached out about writing a book. A university invited me to give their commencement speech. Marcus joked that I was becoming famous. "Next thing you know, you'll have a reality show. Keeping Up with Daniel Torres." I laughed, but the attention made me uncomfortable. I wasn't doing this for fame. I just wanted to build something meaningful and maybe inspire others along the way. One message stood out. It was from a woman named Angela Torres, no relation, whose son was facing similar struggles I'd faced. "Your story gave him hope," she wrote. "Thank you for sharing it. That made everything worthwhile." Mom watched the YouTube video on repeat, crying each time. "I never knew you remembered all those details," she said. "I tried so hard to protect you from feeling less than others. You did protect me, Mom. You showed me that hard work and dignity matter more than money." Brandon reached out again, this time with a request that surprised me. "I know this is presumptuous, but I'm trying to restart my career in real estate. Would you be willing to meet for coffee? Maybe offer some advice?" I hesitated. Marcus thought I was crazy to even consider it. "Why help the guy who tormented you?" "Because holding grudges takes energy," I replied. "Energy I'd rather spend building things." We met at a small cafe downtown. Brandon looked different, older, humbler, dressed in business casual instead of designer clothes. He'd gained weight, lost the arrogant edge. Life had humbled him. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, shaking my hand. "I know I have no right to ask for your time." We sat down, ordering coffee. The conversation was awkward at first, but gradually became easier. Brandon talked about his failures honestly, the bad deals, the arrogance, the assumption that his father's success would automatically transfer to him. "I learned nothing was automatic," he said quietly. "I had to lose everything to understand that." I shared some basic advice about real estate investing, market analysis, property management. He listened intently, taking notes like a student. As we left, he paused. "I truly am sorry, Daniel. For everything." "I know," I said. Good luck with your restart. My 30th year brought unexpected opportunities. A major development company approached us about partnering on a large mixed-use project downtown: apartments, retail space, and offices. The deal was worth $50 million. Marcus and I spent weeks analyzing the proposal, running numbers, consulting with attorneys. It was risky but potentially transformative. This single project could establish us as major players beyond our local market. We signed the partnership agreement on a rainy Tuesday, reminiscent of that day in the Harrison kitchen years ago. But this time, I was signing as an equal partner with a major development firm. The irony wasn't lost on me. The project took 2 years to complete. We navigated zoning issues, construction delays, and budget challenges. But when the building finally opened, it was spectacular, a gleaming tower that changed the city's skyline. The grand opening was covered by every local news station. The mayor gave a speech praising our vision and commitment to the community. Mom attended, now healthy again, beaming with pride. During interviews, reporters asked about my background. I always mentioned Mom, making sure everyone knew that her sacrifices made everything possible. She deserved the recognition more than I did. One journalist asked, "Do you ever think about the people who doubted you?" I smiled. Sometimes. But mostly, I think about the people who believed in me. At 32, I'd built something beyond my wildest childhood dreams. Our real estate portfolio spanned multiple cities, worth over $100 million. We employed hundreds of people, provided housing for thousands, and contributed to community development. But success brought new responsibilities. I started a foundation focused on helping children of low-income workers access education and mentorship. We offered scholarships, tutoring, and career guidance. If I could help even a few kids avoid the struggles I'd faced, it was worth it. Mom insisted on volunteering at the foundation despite my protests. These kids need to see someone who understands, she explained. Someone who's been where they are. She was right. The kids connected with her immediately, sharing struggles they wouldn't share with others. She became the foundation's heart, the person who truly understood their daily battles. One afternoon, a 12-year-old boy came to our office with his mother, who worked as a hotel housekeeper. The boy reminded me of myself, quiet, observant, carrying the weight of his family's struggles. I sat down with him. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" He looked at his mom, then at me. "I want to help people." "Like you do." Something about his earnestness moved me deeply. I took that boy, Miguel, under my wing. He became the foundation's first official mentee, attending our programs, meeting with me monthly, learning about business and finance. His mother cried when I told her we'd cover his private school tuition. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Because someone believed in me once," I replied. "Now I'm passing it forward." Miguel thrived, just like I had. Straight A's, leadership roles, genuine curiosity about the world. Watching him grow reminded me why all the struggle had been worth it. Around this time, I received an unexpected invitation to speak at Princeton, Brandon's old university. The irony made me laugh. I accepted, curious about what I'd say to students at such a privileged institution. The speech was different from my usual talks. I spoke about privilege, responsibility, and using advantages to help others rather than maintain barriers. Some students looked uncomfortable. Others nodded thoughtfully. During Q&A, one student asked, "Do you think wealthy people have a moral obligation to help poor people?" I considered carefully. I think all people have an obligation to recognize that circumstances, not character, often determine success. We're all one bad break away from needing help. Compassion shouldn't be a luxury. The response was thoughtful silence, then strong applause. Life settled into a rhythm. Business grew steadily. The foundation helped dozens of kids. Mom enjoyed her volunteer work and better health. Marcus and I remained close friends and business partners, navigating challenges together. One day, I got a call from Brandon. Hey, I wanted you to hear this from me first. I'm getting married. Small ceremony, nothing fancy. I'd understand if you don't want to come, but I wanted to invite you. I was surprised by how much the invitation meant. I'll be there, I said. The wedding was simple and genuine, small venue, close friends and family, heartfelt vows. Brandon's fiancée, Rachel, was a teacher at an inner-city school. They'd met while Brandon was volunteering as part of his personal recovery process. At the reception, Brandon pulled me aside. I never thanked you properly. For meeting me that day, giving me advice, treating me with kindness I didn't deserve. It helped me believe I could rebuild. Everyone deserves a second chance, I replied. You earned yours by doing the hard work. He nodded, eyes bright. The foundation you started, Rachel and I want to donate. Not much, but something. We want to help kids like you were. Like I should have been helping all along. That gesture meant more than any large donation from a wealthy stranger. It meant growth, change, redemption. Standing in the Harrison Mansion's ballroom during a foundation fundraiser, I looked around at the transformed space. Children from the program played near the grand staircase I'd once been forbidden to climb. Their parents, housekeepers, janitors, factory workers, mingled with business leaders and philanthropists as equals. Mom stood beside me, watching it all with peaceful eyes. You did good, baby, she whispered. We did good, Mom. Together. Miguel approached, now 14 and confident, introducing me to his teachers. This is Mr. Torres, he said proudly. He's my mentor. The title meant more than CEO, more than developer, more than landlord. Mentor. Someone who believed in potential others couldn't see. Marcus raised a glass for a toast. To Daniel Torres, who transformed mockery into mission, pain into purpose, and a mansion into a movement. Everyone cheered. I looked at the faces around me, Mom, Marcus, Miguel, Brandon and Rachel, all the kids from the foundation, the employees who'd become like family. This was wealth. Not the properties or the bank accounts, but this community we'd built. Outside, rain began falling, tapping against the windows. I remembered that 12-year-old boy sitting in the kitchen, fists clenched, heartbreaking. I wished I could tell him, the mockery doesn't define you. The struggle doesn't destroy you. The dream doesn't abandon you. Everything changes. You just have to believe long enough to see it. I raised my glass, toasting the journey, past, present, and future. The Maid's son had become their landlord. But more importantly, he'd become himself.